Hey Tekken 101, Unbreakable Fear here, taking on the form of Endro for this video. If you remember a long time ago, chapter 83 to be exact, Presmite brought to the surface that there is a traitor in UA, and after doing some digging, I think I've uncovered who it is. And it's none other than the excavation hero, Power Loader himself. Now, how I'm going to structure this video is I'm going to list my personal opinion on the least to the most incriminating theories about Power Loader that I have here. The first and most obvious is he knew about USJ and the staff. Being a faculty member of UA, he would have known about both of these places, giving him knowledge if he was a traitor to give to the villains. Next, he's good at what he does. He's knowledgeable on creating, upgrading, and maintaining the quality of all the students' hero costumes. And lastly, for the least incriminating ones, he's rarely shown. Just before the provisional license exam, when he's giving the Class 1A their upgrades, that is the last time we have seen Power Loader to this day. Could it be up to something? Maybe, maybe not. Now, moving on and upping the ante by 2. His suit is always being upgraded. In the background, if you've noticed, his mech suit is not shown, I think, at all, if not rarely, in the manga. In the anime, that's where we truly get to see it shine. We get to see it once in the USJ when he shows up. And that form is rather huge and bulky and very defensive-like, and looks like he could hit like a truck. The next one we see at the provisional license exam when he's up against Ida and Ojiro. That suit is more streamlined, it's more thinned down, but there's no huge differences. At a first glance, you would think nothing different about it. But if you take that time to have a second look about his mech suit, some things have definitely changed. Speaking about the end of semester test, here's where more incriminating evidence appears. He is the only teacher, if you take a close look at him, he does not wear power dampeners. Not on his legs, not on his arms. Nowhere you can see any power dampeners, and that's very worrisome when you look at his stats where he has a 5 out of 5 out of power. If he was to land a full-on hit on Ida or Ojiro, it would be pretty severe and probably really damaging. Now, to go on a little bit more of how Power Loader can stay undiscovered, and that lies within his little apprentice, May. Now, I so believe that he's using May, either to a means of an end or a scapegoat. If he finally gets busted, or at least one of his machines do, the blame could easily be pinned on May, and he could get away scot-free. Oh, and before I move on, there's one more thing about the May theory that I just have to add. In one scene or one panel, when Power Loader is talking to Izuku, he says that you will need May for when you become a pro hero. Now you can interpret that in many different ways, but I choose to interpret that in 2. 1, he's going to need her when he becomes a pro because Power Loader won't be around anymore, or 2, he's going to need her because I do so believe if Power Loader turns out to be the traitor, May's going to have to be the one to take him down. You know, pupil, master, that thing going on. Okay, I've been holding back long enough. Now for my top point. This is a 10 on the suspicion scale and the theory scale. We all know Power Loader is in charge of creating the hero suits for Class 1A and Class 1B. That means if he were so to be the traitor, he'd have a lot of breathing room and a lot of leverage to, say, bug their suits so he could have a wider range of information. Now, not all of them would possibly be bugged, because a lot of the suits are more skin tight, not a lot of room to hide some things, but I've got a few students here which I do believe he could have bugged. The first one is Mina Ashido's boa on her hero costume. Easily, you could hide a little tiny tech bug in all that fluff. Next up is Ida. Now his costume is rather expansive, and you could hide a bug just about anywhere, but I've chosen the torso because that seems to be the most roomy place that Ida probably wouldn't think of looking, if so they got the idea that any of them were bugged. Next up is Uraraka's boots. Now they're very bulky, and yes, they do hold a spring system to help with her landing from her zero gravity if she's very high up, but again, there's still more room in the creating of that to hide a bug. Next, Sue's goggles. Again, a lot of room, a very huge staple of her costume, and a lot of people wouldn't think twice about it. Lastly, I put Sero's shoulder pads. Good old Tape Boy himself. Again, they have a lot of room, very chunky, could hide a bug in there quite easily. Okay, so now before ending this off, I want to bring up a couple small tidbits. First off, Paolo's stats. He has a 5 out of 5 in power, 3 out of 5 in speed, 2 out of 5 in technique, 4 out of 5 in intelligence, and 3 out of 5 in cooperativeness. And I do so believe this is without his mech suit. This is just base him with his Iron Claws quirk. Now that's led to believe if he dons the power suit, how far did these stats go? Again, in the provisional license exam, when he was facing off against Ida and Odro, we saw with that mech suit on, he was digging at extreme speeds. And one more bit I want to add on to the end of this. In some translation, Prez Mike says that there is a traitor, but in other translation, he does say that there is a mole. Now you can chalk that up to translations, but I mean a mole, Paoloda does suit that rather well. Now just a quick few run-throughs about the smaller things that I'd like to suggest. One, about his mech suit always changing. I feel like he's always upgrading it personally for himself. When he does reveal that he is the traitor, that he will be able to take on more or less anybody in the schools to make his escape. Now a very quick one. When we saw the versus screen for Paoloda versus Odro and Ida, he had a very wicked and very creepy smile that might indicate that he's a little bit of a nut job. And we have also never seen his face. The only features we have seen is his mouth. We have never seen his nose or his eyes, besides one panel in the manga and one scene in the anime. And in those scenes, with his eyes, you'll quickly be able to see that a lot of things don't add up. With a lot of humans, their eyes are facing the front of their head, but for some reason with Paolo with his helmet on, they're on the side of his head like he's some kind of T-Rex. Now, normal humans don't work like that, and even if he was somehow a mutant quirk, kind of like how Tokoyami has a bird head, he'd have eyes on the side of his head. If you look on how deep they go into the helmet and the positioning of his neck to the bottom of his head with how big the helmet is, a lot of things still don't add up there, so I think those were teasers. Okay, and this is the last thing before I close off this video. It's the fact that nobody would suspect Paoloda. And this is why I'm doing a video on him. There's a lot of things to insinuate when you theorize about it that he could easily be the traitor, same as anybody else. But the fact is, nobody would suspect him because, one, he's rarely shown. When he's shown, it's to do with something in particular, whether it's to upgrade, have a sly comment, a creepy grin. Nobody would ever expect him because he's a trusted member of UA. He handles the creation of all the young students, all the young pro heroes, hero costumes. Nobody would expect him to be evil, to have malice behind him. And that's why I really like doing this, because I doubt anyone has ever thought of Paolo anything than the weird yellow dino head guy. So to wrap this all up, I do hope you like this video. This has been a long time coming, and frankly, man, I don't mind if this doesn't get in the top 5. As long as you've seen this video, that's a reward in itself for me. Thank you so much, and I hope this theory intrigues you as much as it intrigues me. Catch you later.